Hi, kitty cats. The verdict is in, and now I'm able to speak freely about the criminal case in which I testified as an expert witness. In short, hate and discrimination won the day. Well, I am Amethysta. I am an author and a podcaster. You can check the links below for more information about me and the work that I do. You'll see one of my links here is going to be my personal website, which is amethysta.io. You can find all the social media networks I'm on there, so please follow me for updates on everything I do. One of those other ones is my professional website. It's genderidentitytoday.com. All my articles and podcasts are published there, as well as work from other contributors. So if you like this content, you can please consider subscribing at genderidentitytoday.com. A subscription is as low as $2 a month. And if you would like to contribute content to Gender Identity Today, please contact me through my personal website, amethysta.io, at the contact page. And then finally, there is one more link if you'd like to leave a tip. The last link goes to coffee.com, where you can send a tip as you see fit. All right, let me go through some of the comments. Hi, Frybird. Good to see you here. Hi, Genevieve. Yeah, so Nijo says she fixed the title to Transgender Discrimination in the U.S. legal system. So fix the title because there's no justice to be found. There's just legal BS. So this is a good way to get into it. I want to give first like a disclaimer. Here's my introduction to what I'm going to talk about, as well as a disclaimer. I'm not a legal expert. I'm not a lawyer. And I am telling this story from my direct observation of the evidence that was, that came out in this trial. And then I'm also basing what I'm going to say here on my conversation with the defense attorney and her observation, interpretation, and explanation of the evidence that we had. Also, her evidence of the process that that has gone through, that the defendant went through. Now, I'm going to say I may still make errors in how this should strictly be presented. Because again, what I say, not a legal expert, not a lawyer. Thank you, Matt, first of all, for sending me little gifts. Thank you. That's so cute, so nice. Hi, Erica. Good to see you here on YouTube there. All right, so as an intro, the verdict is in on this criminal case. The court record is public, and so that means I'm able to talk about what I'm going to talk about freely. That said, I only want to use 3 names. I want to use the District Attorney of Cortland County, New York. That is Patrick Perfetti. I will also use the assigned counsel defense attorney's name, which is Selah Brotherton. And finally, the defendant, who is Kevin Bruzy. There are 2 names I'm not going to use. I'm not going to use the name of the complainant. This is the person who accused the defendant. I'm just going to call her the girl because I think it's easy. I'm also not going to give the name of the complainant's mother. I'm just going to call her the mother because it's pretty easy. This isn't exactly out of respect for the mother because I have some thoughts about that. But I am definitely going to protect the minor who's involved in this this court case. You're right, Frybird. I'm so sorry, not just Matt. All right, I want to talk about how I got into this case. I have a friend, I think it was last September, a friend of mine named Angel, and maybe she'll show up in TikTok. We'll see. But she asked me a very simple question. Can transgender men, so these are people who are assigned female at birth, who are transitioning to present as a man, could they get an enlarged clitoris from hormone replacement therapy, from testosterone therapy? So I did some research on that, first of all. I mean, this is the kind of thing that I do, right? I'm biology, biochemistry sort of background, so I'm doing this. And I'm not immediately familiar with the FTM hormone protocol. So it was kind of also a chance to get to know some of that protocol as well. And I found out that yes, clitoromegaly, as it is called, the medical condition, can occur through testosterone therapy. Statistical data that I found indicates it's not a lot of people who experience clitoromegaly, but it can grow up for 1 to 4 centimeters in in size. That's less than 2 inches for those of us who still use freedom units there. And I should also mention a clitoris is not just one point, okay? It extends around and through the vulva area. So taking this into account, on average, it looks like, through HRT, through testosterone HRT, those who experience clitoromegaly experience maybe about 2 centimeters growth, as much as an inch. So there you go. When I had that information, I went back to Angel and I gave it to her, and she said, can you contact an attorney? And I go, oh my gosh, who's this? And she says, well, it's the defense attorney. And I will call her Zayla from now on, because Zayla and I became good friends. So Zayla told me that a transgender man had been accused, and here we go, accused of sexual assault against a minor. And she agreed if I were interested that she would send the depositions made by the girl and the mother so that I could look at them and make some decisions on whether or not I was interested in talking to her further. All of this was freely available under the Freedom of Information Act. These were things that were taken by a police officer, so they were freely available. I had not been retained at that point. I was not involved. And when I read it, frankly, I wanted nothing to do with it, because I read the girl's statement and it's disjointed at best. She alleges the crime occurred when she was 9 and 2 years had elapsed since the alleged crime, or a year had elapsed, and then she spoke to her mother. Then another year elapsed, and then the investigation began. So, I mean, it was really just disjointed. The mother's statement, frankly, didn't add a whole lot to it. So I did want to be involved because I did want to believe that this could actually be a criminal case, that somebody could seriously go to jail on something this, weak looking, okay? I also did want to believe, like Nijo, I didn't want to believe this is how the U.S. justice system works. I just didn't. I mean, it seems so ridiculous. So let me look at some comments here before I move on to some of the initial evidence of the case. But let's see. I've got Cannon asks if I have any pets, and then Cannon, you are going to ask why I call my cat a she, if maybe she identifies as a man or as a male cat. And I guess here's the thing. She hasn't told me. If she ever told me, what I would do is respect her ability to define who she is, and I would start calling her he. So there you go. Thanks a lot, Cannon. It's a great question. Congratulations on my newfound sobriety. Thank you. That's really great. Let me see. Lovely little... Let me see. So Saf talks to me all the time. Well, yeah, Sapphire is her name, and she talks quite a bit. She's very meowsy. So, all right. Initial evidence of this case. The girl's statement, all right, alleges that the defendant did a few things, and this is going to be a touch graphic, so content warning thrown out here. The girl's statement alleges the defendant briefly licked her vagina, exposed her penis to her, and attempted to force her to perform fellatio. The statement that the girl gave includes a drawing of an erect phallus to indicate what the defendant looked like, what the complainant saw. So at this point, I asked Zayla, does the defendant have a penis? Because he's a transgender man, right? Assigned female at birth. I made that clear, hopefully. Has he had surgery? And the answer was no. But he's been in jail close to 2 years, and the investigation has been kind of squidgy. So I based on these two statements, based on my conversations with Zayla, I came to a conclusion, okay? The defendant, Kevin Brucey, was not being treated fairly. He had been indicted by a grand jury. No judge had signed an arrest warrant. He had been questioned and likely should have had an attorney present at that time. There was also a search and seizure process for evidence that likely didn't factor into the case, and maybe it was a little bit funky. And to me, this felt like only discrimination against the transgender community. With this evidence, I think Kevin was arrested only because he is transgender. And so I wanted to help uncover and undo this discrimination. Now, that was an opinion, okay? And I have a lot of other opinions on the behavior, the process, some of the words that were even used, and I'm not going to tell those. What I want to do is go through really just the base level facts on this case, because I want to be able to, for people to watch this and go, this is what the case was about? So sometime in September or October, I was retained as an expert witness. The point of my testimony, as I understood it, would be to explain what being transgender meant. Because oftentimes if you meet somebody who is transgender, you don't hate us. You go, you don't hate the community. You go, well, these are normal people. These are just people who do, normal things, with the exception of maybe dressing in clothes I wouldn't choose to wear, dyeing their hair in ways I wouldn't choose to do. So I was going to explain being transgender. I was supposed to explain why Kevin may not have a penis, all right, may not have had surgery, and didn't possess the parts necessary to fulfill the allegations. I wanted to prove that we are people, not predators, and that the jury must look at the facts of the case and not Kevin's gender identity. So I'll move on to the prosecution in a sec. Let me blow through a couple of comments here. Nijo says, if my cat told me why she wants to be... If my cat told me she wants to be a he, I'd call a scientist to tell me why my cat can talk. Maybe you want to call a psychiatrist to ask why your cat is talking. I don't know. That's a good point, too. Nijo also says this is a hate campaign against the trans community. I believe you. I agree with you. They are using children, quoting Nijo still, they are using children to tug at people, lying and saying we are after their children. This is bigger than just the legal case itself. Yes, and that's why I'm talking about this right now, Nijo. Let me see what we got here. That Ginger Dad came in. Hi, Ginger Dad. Let me see. Adam says he is a cis white male, but ally. So thank you, sir, for doing that. I appreciate that. Let me see. What else do we have? Yeah, thank you, Ginger Dad, for coming and listening. I appreciate that. Angel is here. Well, look at what we're talking about, Angel, right? Innocent until proven guilty is only for rich people. Give me a moment, Angel. All right. The prosecution. This is what happened in the prosecution. You ready? In the trial, District Attorney Patrick Perfetti ran 3 witnesses. One of those witnesses was the investigator, all right, the person who took the statement for the girl, the mother, and ultimately interviewed Kevin. On cross-examination, the investigator admitted he had no solid reason to investigate this further. He had no solid reason to arrest and detain Kevin Bruzy, but he trusted this disjointed statement the girl made more than the character of the defendant. And why did he trust this disjointed statement better? Just because. Wow. Then the prosecution ran the mother, and her testimony matched the statement that she made, and that was, that was good. Glad that she could match the statement. On cross-examination, she did admit that she was very angry with the defendant, with Kevin. There was a Child Protective Services case, and I know nothing about this, but there was a CPS case filed against her, and she had suspected that Kevin did it. She was extremely angry with Kevin, and Selah, at least to me, interpreted that as motive to accuse Kevin of a crime. Then the prosecution ran the girl. Okay, her testimony did match the statement she made. Again, good. With one exception. She was unable to find the person who assaulted her in the courtroom. Okay, DA Perfetti asked her twice more, and the girl twice more was unable to identify the defendant as the person who assaulted her. On cross-examination, the girl contradicted. the mother and the investigator on a few points because she seemed unable to remember more details of her statement than the details of her interview than the abbreviated deposition, because there was like a long interview that an investigator turns into a statement, and that was what was freely available. The prosecution also ran an endocrinologist, and I got to tell you, I didn't hear about this testimony, but I suspect he testified that testosterone hormone therapy could cause clitoromegaly, which, thanks, buddy. So let's see. Here's what the defense did. The defense also ran 3 witnesses. So Selah ran a urologist, and this urologist had personally performed a physical exam on Kevin. Physical exam, okay? He went to the jail, performed an exam, wrote a statement, and testified he had found standard parts for assigned female at birth. He found no evidence of clitoromegaly, and he entered photographic evidence of his examination. Photographic evidence of private parts, which incidentally, I'm horrified that these are the kinds of things that get into court cases, that ultimately we have to take pictures of people's genitalia. Freiberg says, oh, that's not traumatizing, right? Oh my God. Angel is saying multiple invasive exams were performed. I think it was 3 in total is what she said. At least one had to have been at the jail, right? Zoinks. So, all right, here we go. Then Selah ran me as an expert witness. I was so nervous, by the way. Oh my gosh. I couldn't, it's crazy that I was that nervous because I've done some pretty nerve-wracking things, but I was concerned about the freedom or incarceration of, the defendant. So at my testimony, I was disqualified from speaking about anything other than biology and my experience. I discussed the distinction between sex and gender as defined by biologists. I also discussed my own experience with gender dysphoria. And then I also identified something called a packer. And if you're not familiar with one of these things, it's a silicone replica of male reproductive parts. The purpose of one of these things, so some transgender women, I don't anymore, but some transgender women will wear breast forms. So it's something you can put in a bra that bounces and it gives you, the emulation of a feminine look. So some transgender men, similarly, will wear a packer. So this packer was entered as evidence, and I'm going to return to this, if you don't mind. And the last witness that the defense ran was Kevin Bruzy himself. And perhaps not surprisingly, he testified he did not commit the crime alleged against him. I have some interpretation on this, but I'm going to turn to some of these comments here. Let's see. Nijo says the trans man should have dropped his pants in the courtroom and shout, "How could it have been me?" Right? Bobby Bamlett, which by the way, hi Bobby, says her heart goes out to Kevin. Thank you. Appreciate that. What do I got on the side here? Lizzie. Hi, Lizzie. Lizzie is here. Oh my gosh. Freiberg has called me an icon. Thank you. Oh my gosh. A lot of compliments. I won't read them all because, let me see. What else do we have? Lizzie says it was disgusting. This treatment was disgusting. Yes. Welcome to the U.S. justice system. Oy. A lot of people are saying that they're mad. Freiberg, I want to return to your point. Freiberg says the packer won't get erect. Good point. I'm going to return to that. So here's my interpretation, and this is where I'm going to return to it. So at least it's quick, right? The prosecution, in my opinion, again, not a legal expert, okay? But the prosecution seems to have a very, very weak case. The investigation lacked solid evidence, yet Kevin had been arrested. The mother appears, maybe, to have had a motive to start these allegations. The girl couldn't identify Kevin in the courtroom, and the endocrinologist maybe established clitoromegaly exists and could happen, but the urologist was right there, had personally examined Kevin, had photographic evidence against it. So it feels to me like the prosecution had really a just crap case. To address the Packer was brought in because Selah thought that the prosecution could go one of two directions. One could have said it was clitoromegaly, that this erect phallus that the girl drew was clitoromegaly. I did mention, it wasn't, the chances were pretty slim that it could have been, and it really makes no difference because the urologist had a picture, right? But there was also the possibility that what the girl saw as she was being forced into performing fellatio was a Packer. But the Packer was actually in a so these are held on with a little harness, sort of like a belt, and then something that goes through legs, so it holds a pouch. The belt harness was bright red, and it had a colorful pouch to hold the Packer itself. I believe the pouch had like comic book stuff on it, like pow bang kind of thing, and probably understand what I mean, so I'll go along with that. And the Packer had been entered as evidence. The jury could look at this to see it cannot stand erect, which is exactly what Freiberg just said. Yeah. And I gotta figure, since it can't stand erect, and it's in this belt harness with pow and bang and bright red, I gotta admit, I think it's probably really difficult to mistake that for natural parts. To me, this case seems really straightforward. If the girl saw an erect penis, it must not have been the defendant. At the very least, there has to be a reasonable doubt. It could have been the defendant. I gave this, it was a joke that I made, but I gave this to Selah. I said, if you look at this whole thing, Kevin doesn't have the parts. And if the parts don't fit, you must acquit. And she said, oh, I love that. And I think she used it in the closing statement. And frankly, I kind of hope she didn't, because it was a dumb joke, but I'm going to run with it. So, all right. Let me check comments again really fast. So Nijo says, Kevin has been in for 2 years so far. It will be 2 years in March, I believe. Yes. This case, Nijo says, this case has been deliberately held for Trump's MAGA campaign. This is 100% political. The trial, there have been a lot of delays in this. This is part of what I wasn't going to talk about, but there have been a lot of delays in this, and they do seem strategic. Even during the trial, there were a lot of delays that seemed strategic, and I don't, again, not a legal expert, I'm not sure where to go with this. So, Lizzie says it was without a doubt a hate crime. Yeah. Frybird says, Kevin might have needed to urinate one day, and that's so dangerous. Right? Ginger Dad says there's so much more than reasonable doubt. Right? I'm crazy. It's crazy. Angel brings up the point. Kevin didn't even own the Packer until after he'd moved out of state. So he didn't own the Packer when the crime was alleged. Now, for what it's worth, Angel, I don't think we ever found a receipt. The Packer was one of those things in the search and seizure that we go, was that all the way on the level there? So I don't think we ever found a receipt, and so I don't think we could have rejected that theory based on didn't own it. So Frybird says, I've seen so many men parts born with comic book skin, right? Pow and bang. So, all right. That Ginger Dad says, this is why I had to say I was a cis straight white male, as unfortunately I know I'm in. Well, true. So, all right. So here we go. Mine has a tartan pattern, which is weird because I'm not even Scottish. This is what Matt Adlin says. So your scrotum has a tartan on it, does it? I'm loving this. All right, I'm going to move on. The verdict, because I'm feeling much better, but here's the verdict, okay? With all this evidence, the jury deliberated on the order of about 8 hours. The verdict was guilty on all charges. Guilty on all charges. All charges. Sexual assault against a minor and endangering a minor. Guilty. Guilty. The sentence, and Kevin will not be sentenced until March, late March. The sentence, I want to point out, in New York State, sexual assault against a minor is a Class A2 felony. It's on par. I believe, I don't think it's first degree murder, but I believe on par with second degree murder. The sentence carries 25 years to life in prison. I want to point this out. Guilty on all charges. With that crap of a case, this guy could spend 25 years to life? I'll tell you, I read that text from Selah on Tuesday, and I was devastated. I wondered how I could possibly trust anybody or anything ever again. I felt the U.S. justice system was a sham that only worked, as Angel said, for people rich enough to twist it to their purposes. I was horrified. 12 people of the jury, okay? I don't even have that many fucking fingers. 12 people of a jury could come to a unanimous conclusion. There was no reasonable doubt in the allegations made based on the evidence presented. Oh, I lost a lot of confidence in humanity that day. I was so angry. I was so angry. I want to address a couple of questions because I'm not finished with my verdict stuff here. Bobby, how do they connect Kevin to the Packer? This was the search and seizure warrant or process that occurred. They went to Kevin's house and they seized it. Whether or not it was even, it was not mentioned in the girl's deposition, but they did seize it. So good question, very good question. I'm going to end up laughing if I read this from Matt. Matt says, yes, looked up the pattern once. It's Clan McJohnson. There you go. All right, so what happens next? I'm going to go back to these comments, but what happens next? I told Selah I was very angry, and then she called and said, it's going to be okay. Don't worry, it's going to be okay. She's already outlined a plan to appeal this verdict. And what she said is that she needs brave people to stand up and talk about this. So that's what I'm doing. That's my job. That's my job now. I'm being brave. I'm talking about this because I'm angry, and I hope anybody who is watching now or watches this video later, I hope this makes you angry. I hope you share this story all over this place, because I'm going to tell you, I believe what happened in Cortland County, New York was a disgrace. From the investigator to DA Patrick Perfetti to the 12 people in the jury, this verdict is a mockery of justice, and Kevin Bruzy deserves better. I'm asking for your help. Share this story, learn more about this story. Together, I want to bring awareness to this case. Selah and I together are going to bring awareness to the case. I don't even care who it is who becomes aware of this. The incoming administration has already pledged to make discrimination against the transgender community federal law. So please, stand with me and fight this. I'm still devastated. I'm still wondering how I trust anything ever again. So stand with me and fight, please. So that's all I had to present. Got 32 minutes that I'm willing to stick around. So if you have questions you'd like to ask me about anything I said, or even just, the transgender experience, ask away. So Sophie Derano asks, hopefully I said that right. I don't speak French, Sophie, so forgive me. What's happening? Yeah, as Nijo says, there was a court case that was rigged, criminal case that was rigged. Sophie says it only works for the rich. It actually doesn't work. Okay, because then that's why they agonize over profit margin. The thing is, I've got to believe that the justice system as put together would work. Like, I don't actually think that the whole idea of a jury of your peers and everything having to do with this, that it just plain doesn't work. I think at this point we have gotten to we've gotten to a society where it doesn't work. Because I think those 12 people came into this case with their minds made up. They didn't want evidence. They didn't need evidence. The only evidence they needed was Kevin is transgender. Let's get out of here. He's a weirdo. He's weird. And the other person the defense brought in has purple fucking hair. She's weird. Let's get out of here. Let's go home. We've been here a week. Forget it. Sophie says that entire branch of our government is basically close to collapse right now, which is why it is wielded so wildly. Ooh. First of all, I just want to say why it's wielded so wildly is a wonderful way to say something. I just had to throw another couple of W's in there. But I do appreciate the way you're saying that. And Andrea, I'm glad you plugged in today too. If you could, please share this video when it's done. I'll have a short link that I'm going to put into the show notes. It's going to be, Purple Paw's my little thing, but it'll be purpl.pw/Kevin Bruzy. So you can definitely do that. So let me see. Oh my gosh, I'm running low. I'm way behind here on TikTok comments. Let me see. Does tartan curtains match your drapes? There you go. Let me see. Gray says there's crazy. There's no way you can morally say he is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Right? I don't know how this happens. I truly don't know how this happens. Frybird says U.S. justice is a scam. Computer 1991 says must be more to it. I will tell you, Computer 1991, no kidding. I testified there. I talked to the defense attorney. There is so much that I'm holding back that actually make the thing worse. I'm trying to tell you just the evidence, just the testimonies, because I don't want to add my opinion to it. As I said at the top of the hour, not a legal expert, not a lawyer. I'm not going to be the one, I don't want to go on record as saying that some of these things are wrong. So, because I don't completely know. I believe they're probably wrong. Frybird says she knows this broke my heart and mind that day. I got to tell you, I'm still reeling from this. Matt, I appreciate you responded to dark stuff with stupid humor. Don't apologize for that. I truly appreciate that because this is too mind-boggling. Angel calls Selah a badass. I love Selah as does Angel. Angel says we love her very much, very much. I made a whole Transgender Joy video just about Selah yesterday because she is somebody who actually is standing up, somebody who cares. And we need people like this. We need lawyers like this. She is a cisgender, heterosexual woman, probably 100 pounds soaking wet, And she is fighting like a wildcat, defending her young. I don't know a better person. I don't know I've ever seen a better ally than Selah. Sorry about that, Matt. Matt, maybe I don't mean to diminish you. Wow, Selah, I'm just stunned by her. That Ginger Dad says, can you please inbox me the case? I'll scream it in the UK. If you don't mind telling me what you mean by inbox you the case, yes. Feel free to DM me, and I'd love to to send you whatever information you could use. We definitely need to keep screaming. Frybird says our representatives, our politicians have dead batteries and hearing aids. Hey, isn't that true? Angel also says, and remember I mentioned Angel was the one who reached out to me. She has personally known Kevin for 5 years. And Angel offers her DMs, I guess on TikTok, are open. Ask her anything. She will stand by Kevin being a good man. I will admit, I did not meet Kevin personally. I saw him once when I was testifying. We made eye contact 2 or 3 times. I know nothing about this guy. Everything I see just stinks so badly. So badly. All right, what am I looking for here? I think I lost it. Somehow my things scrolled a little bit weird. So let's see. Here's a question from Frybird. How can we best help our trans friends slash citizens? Sorry, I said that. Trans friends and citizens. I think the best way is to disagree. I mean, I don't even know how better to put that. I've had conversations where people have said something negative about the transgender community, and sometimes I go, that's your opinion. And that's all I've done. But what I have started to do is to go, no, you're wrong. And I don't have to have a huge conversation. I don't need to have a huge, debate. I don't want a huge debate, but I will certainly say, no, you're wrong. And if that person wants to engage further, then great. But that's what we can do is start to disagree. I know many of us have been doing this for decades, so, but disagree. Angel asks, how can we say he had a jury of his peers when there were 0 trans or LGBTQ people on the jury? I don't know about the queer community in general. There were 3 people who had close relatives who were transgender. So I would have thought that it was people who were at least familiar with the experience a tiny bit. Is that a jury of Kevin's peers? Ooh, good question. Are you going to find 12 transgender men in Cortland County, New York? It's a good question, too. That being said, jury of your peers gets really strange, Siren does say, hello, love. Good to see you, Siren. I think I saw did you say you were 2.5? Oh, thank you, Frybird, oh, Siren, thank you for the flowers, too. Siren, did you say you're 2.5 weeks into bottom surgery recovery? Here it is. Congratulations, sister. I remember you saying that. I hope that's all going well. Gray asks the question, are they going for a mistrial? That's a good question, and I'm not qualified to answer it. I know that the appellate case, so the case that will go to the appellate court, to an appellate court, to the appellate level, I suppose I should say, a court on the appellate level. Not a legal expert, what'd I say? I don't know exactly how all they're going to do it. Probably based on how the process looked funky and how this wasn't a jury of his peers, etc. So I don't know if that's the same as a mistrial, frankly. I wish I could tell you. But no doubt the appellate case is going to be something. So, all right, let me see, what else do we have here? Jokes. Sweet girl. Resist. Be loud about it. Yes, be loud about this, Frybird, please. Yeah, so Angel says there is a plan. It's not being publicized. Yeah, I don't know a whole ton. But for what it's worth, this is part of it. I'm starting the ball rolling if I can. By talking about it. Angel says, and this was something I don't want to talk a lot about, but Angel says there was a lot of hate speech. There was a lot of words used that are classified as hate speech. These are classified by the ACLU. I don't know if that's a legal classification, but the ACLU certainly calls some of the words that were used in court hate speech. Now, an interesting point is that I was treated exceptionally well. The judge, said hi to me before I even came on the stand. He was super kind to me while I was on the stand, came and shook my hand afterward, and was like, thanks so much. I was really interested in your testimony. Thank you so much. So, I don't know. The judge, I think maybe has some ignorance, which is fine. Because ignorance you can cure, right? You can just go learn and you're cool. D.A. Perfetti definitely used words I would choose him not to use. In fact, for what it's worth, during my testimony in cross-examination, he asked me a question that I ended up saying, that's not a verb. That is an adjective. And we didn't get into it much, but yes, there were things DA Perfetti said that I would have preferred were not said. So, all right, going over to YouTube comments here. Nijo says, take all your arguments about the trans community and replace the word trans for Jew and tell me tell me these people are in the right. Tell me they aren't fucking Nazis. Sophie, thank you so much. Sophie says hi. She's new to the channel. Ella Abyss, hello. Anita says this is terrible and triggering. I forgive me if this ended up being triggering. I so gotta get this out here. Nijo says we're fighting like a raccoon in a garage. Absolutely. Sophie says the best way to contribute is to protest, to join organizations and sign petitions. And now Nijo asks a couple of good questions. How many trans people were in the jury? I believe none. I don't know how many queer. I definitely know that 3 of them had close relations to transgender people. But your next question, how many people in the jury voted Trump? Cortland County in New York, I think this is a good question, because Cortland County in New York voted for Trump, leaned Trump. So what was the demographic? I saw I made a point of making eye contact with every single juror. I think everybody was white. I'm pretty confident everybody was over 30, maybe 40. I would say 3 or 4. There were 3 or 4 older people, like 60 and above. I'm turning 55 in like a couple of months. I'm starting to not like the word older people, phrase older people. So, anyway, those, what was the demographic? It was skewed, likely cishet white, middle class, Nijo, no, I do not know Leah. It would be great if she wanted to talk about it. If you don't mind, if you don't mind reaching out to me, or somehow connecting us. I guess I can't. I'm not really sure. Maybe you can leave a comment on this video on YouTube. Just like tag her in it. I'm not really sure, but we'll find out. Let me see. What else do we have? So Frybird asks, hate speech by which side per judge? Hopefully I addressed that one. Frybird says she was stupid worried about how the prosecution would treat me. He was really super friendly, and part of me was disarmed a little. The DA was trying to create a vibe, Angel says. Here's a funky thing. So I'm sitting on the witness stand, right? DA Perfetti objected to my testimony 3 times, 4 times. I forget, but several times that I was like, what did I even say? But then he would come up to the bench, and I'm like 4 feet away. Like, he's standing right there, right? So he's talking to the judge, whispering to the judge. But I'm hearing the whole thing, all right? Because I'm right there, and maybe my hearing's great. Who the hell knows? But the point I was going to go at here, not only was DA Perfetti very professional with me, he also gendered me properly to the judge the whole time. Now, I brought that up to Selah because I was like, that's fascinating. Why, I'm sort of surprised that I was treated so nicely and, gendered properly the whole time. And she ended up responding, well, probably because you pass well enough as a pretty lady. And then I went, ew. Anyway, I don't know why he was so kind to me, but, there you go. So, Chris Maldonado says, good luck on Instagram Live tomorrow. So tomorrow I'm actually closing my Instagram account. So maybe that's supposed to be funny. But let me see. Frybird says she wants to talk on a live so bad before we potentially lose the ability. Well, there's what do you got? Another 12 hours, supposedly? All right, going back to other comments here. Okay, so Sophie says, I understand some trans people are in worse situations than mine, but in the entirety of the 50 states, I'm more worried for the immigrants right now. This stuff is really bad. Yeah, I mean, I won't deny you, because at the very least, from like a statistical standpoint, right? I mean, if you just want to be completely utilitarian, there are far more people who have emigrated to this country than are transgender in this country. And I do want to point out too, because I know I've used this statistic before. Even if we just go with 1% for the transgender community, and that's self-identification, so I don't think that's a very accurate number, 1%. I think it's probably higher. But even if you were to say just 1%, that is 35 million people, which is actually the population of Connecticut, the entire state of Connecticut. So it's a significant number of people, but I do agree, there are probably other, undocumented workers in the U.S., probably more than that. So Sophie says in 6 months we could be in for the same level of crap as them. Yes, very true. Nijo, thank you. We'll leave a comment and tag her. Okay, good. Link it in. Oh, okay. So you're in a Discord with Leah. Good. Very political. Started to lean to trans content. Oh gosh, maybe. I mean, I'm happy to have a conversation with her. Maybe we can do a live stream together. But let's see. Anita says they may be careful gendering you right because not doing so could harm their case depending on the judge. It's a good question. I'm trying to figure out what I want to say about this. I don't think it. I don't. I think I disagree. I think that not gendering me properly, especially, I mean, even in like approach the bench kind of thing, I don't know. I don't know if it would be necessary. Now, that being said, those are also in the minutes. So like that is captured in the minutes, although maybe redacted, in the public record. I don't know. But I don't know if it would make a difference. Like, could it harm their case depending on the judge? I think the only thing it could harm, because here I'm going to admit a little bit of ignorance, the verdict comes from the jury. Certainly, if the DA is a jerk, the judge could start ruling against him with objections. Yes. By the time I took the stand, it was about 1:30 on Friday, and the case started Monday. So they did jury selection and then various other stuff. But, anyway, I don't know if it could have harmed their case a whole lot at that point. So Nijo, Kevin cannot seek asylum in Canada because Kevin, I believe, I don't know the exact number, and maybe Angel, you know this number, but I believe the bail is set at $250,000. He's been in jail. Bro's in jail. Bro's not getting out of jail. At this point, with the verdict, obviously, the bail I think went away. So, it's really crazy. It's really crazy. So, I don't know, Angel, if you remember that number better than I do. You might know. But so Matt says everything they do in court is calculated. Now that I've gone along, now that I've given all the evidence as as openly and as objectively as I can, what I believe, this is a belief, I'm gonna put this in beliefs, put this as a belief. The prosecution spent a lot of time doing nothing so it was 2 days for jury selection, and then it was supposed to be finished up by Friday. Prosecution took a ton of time on Wednesday. Did not call any witnesses. I don't even know what was there because Sayla was like, yeah, they did a thing. So some dog and pony show on Wednesday. Thursday is when they ran all their witnesses. That taking a day, understood. Totally understood. And then the courthouse had a grand jury convened for the morning of Friday. So 2 hours. So the defense had literally like 4 hours to present the case. Now, I bring any of this up because here's the thing. I had flown in. I live in Colorado, right? I don't live in Cortland County, New York. I flew to New York, and I was leaving Saturday. The urologist, whom I believe was far more important than any testimony I had to give, came down for the day. Like he's a doctor. He had to close his practice, his personal practice, for 2 days so that he could drive down, be there, and testify. So we surmise, is there evidence of this? We don't know. We surmise the prosecution was like dragging their feet. You know, everything they do in court is calculated. Is where this came from, is what Matt said, and it appears the prosecution was interested in wasting as much time as possible so that it went into the next week. And the urologist wouldn't have been available, and I wouldn't have been available. And ultimately, you would have had a defense composed of Kevin saying, I didn't do it, and then you're done. Again, I find that deplorable. Maybe that happened. I don't know. Like, I'm not going to go on record to say that this was exactly what DA Perfetti was doing, but that's what happened. So Gray says the judge would have no say on ruling with the fact that the jury was present. Agreed. So the jury will deliver the verdict. I think the only thing would just be like in court, like banter back and forth. If the judge got pissed off at the DA, there you go. So Freibird says, don't forget people who can think outside the approved box. Canada can extradite. Kevin. I mean, good point. Yeah, there you go. Angel, okay, sorry. So Angel does not recall the number. It is astronomical. A $250,000. Something stunning. All right. I think it was more. It was $250,000, 300,000, $500,000. It was ridiculous. The kind of thing that, like, unless you were an extremely rich person or you had extremely rich friends or parents or something, like I'm a relatively successful person, I like to think, and I don't think I'm going to put up $250,000 for bail. I recognize you get that back, right? You do get that back. But, like, wowzers, $250,000. So Freibird says she's afraid that appeal might be hard, especially if it escalates up the courts. It's a really good question. Again, I'm not an expert on this. Selah has a whole plan. I will say this too. One of the things that Selah told me to calm me down, she said, believe me, I'm quoting as much as I can. She says, believe me, justice works. But usually justice happens at the appellate level. Apparently at the appellate level, and I don't want to completely I don't want to represent this as like legal fact, but apparently at the appellate level, you can choose the court in which you present the appellate case. So you can choose a particular judge and choose a place that is going to have people who are going to be more jury of your peers, as it were. Okay? So Matt is saying he's heard that before. Justice happens at the appellate level. So with the appellate case, it sounds like it can be heard by a different kind of jury. And I don't even know all the specifics on this, but I do believe that like Selah's got a good, a good chance at doing this. So that's good. Yeah, so Gray says legally the only thing that the judge could do would be sustaining or dismissing. Yeah, so right. You can't afford it unless you're Brock Allen Turner's family. Right. Oh, so Matt, I didn't realize this. Matt says bondsmen usually only need 10% to loan you the bail money. Interesting. Angel does say that Kevin still didn't have the 25 to 50K to pay for 10%. I mean, even like I'm a little unsure that I would. I mean, I guess I would, but like, geez. All right, let me see. What do we have here? Okay, Anita says, okay, so, yeah, right, I'm sorry. It's triggering because your girlfriend was very badly treated in a case in Canada with some similarity. Yeah, okay. I didn't ask you about that, but I'm sorry for that. I'm sorry for her. Let's see. So Bobby Bamlett brings up a point. Trump is a person convicted of a criminal offense cannot enter Canada. That's a fascinating point, isn't it? Criminal convicted of a criminal offense, but commuted sentence or not commuted. Ooh, there's a different word for that, but not being punished at all. It's a bummer. So, I'm gonna cough, so I'm gonna stop doing this. Hang on. Okay, so I've only got 5 minutes left. All I'm going to do on this is say thank you for listening to this. I definitely would love to talk about this more with any one of you. You know, if you want to hear more about it, Nijo says Leah says that she will look into it. Can't promise anything, but if Leah looks into it, cool. I mean, I'm available, Nijo. I don't know if you know, I'm available on Discord. I'm the only Amethysta there, so should be easy. But yeah, let's continue to talk about this. This was a difficult live to do because I've spent the past 2 weeks either in New York or recovering from this horrific verdict, and that means that I haven't responded to some of you very well. It also means I haven't created a lot of content. I'm hurting. It's truly stunning. Shakespeare says this has been maddening to hear about, no doubt. This whole thing has been so stunning, and my heart goes out to Kevin all the way. My heart also goes out to this little girl, for what it's worth. And maybe you say, why? I have opinions on the little girl, and I'm going to leave it at that. Matt, I'm right about to join your Discord. Believe me. Anyway, with that, I do want to say to Matt Adland and to Frybird, thank you so much for moderating in TikTok. To everybody on YouTube and everybody on TikTok, everybody who's listening to me on Twitch, everybody who's watching this video, period. Thank you so much for watching this. Thank you so much for caring, because it's really only through caring for each other that that we end up not, all of us being rounded up by the people who hate us. And the thing is, everybody hates somebody, right? So, I don't know. I was hoping that was going to be profound. I'll just end it. Thank you again. Thank you, everybody. Bye.